we didn't know who was going to take that position, and that was contingent on the additional salary.
So would this be a lateral move for that person?
No, it's a step up. It was from a C4 to a C5.
Okay.
How much is the county?
Like over 26,000 plus benefits.
Okay.
That's coming from probation. And that's with their supervision funds.
This looks like it was pre-approved.
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions for Judy? All right. Hearing none, we'll move to number 2, Treasurer Connie Javens.
Oh, thank you. I request one regular part-time fiscal accountant tech position is 1102-2246 with a salary of $12.31 an hour and a $5,000 budget effective January 14th, 2019. The position has been filled by Matthew Norvett effective 1/28/2019. And this has been pre-approved. And I want to thank you, Commissioner Amadeo, and also Dan Camp for approving it.
Well, I don't believe it's approved until we have a vote. The PAM form may say that it's approved, but I believe in the Sunshine Act, and to me, that means nothing until it's voiced in public and then voted. So, going back to January and you have somebody working and the county is paying for an employee when we haven't even voted on it for 2 months.
Commissioner, are you going to question every other one on this agenda here?
Yes, every other one is absolutely on my radar, and they are within the 30-day period of the work session here.
I wouldn't expect anything else out of you. And I hasten to say the Controller's Office did approve it also.
Can you give your opinion on how this is legal?
Well, at this point, he's going to go in front of you guys for a vote next week. Now, I don't think we haven't had, when was our last salary board meeting? I don't think we had one in February.
The 15th of January, and this person was employed on the 14th of January.
Well, it's in, the position has been filled. So are we creating the position starting on the 14th and it was filled starting on the 28th of January? So
January 28th, it was effective, not January 14th.
So it was the 28th when it was filled. So this is the first salary board meeting we've had since this position's been filled.
It was created effective on 1/14. It was filled on 1/28.
Garen, is there any issue with this?
Yeah, so I mean, ultimately, it's going to be voted on by you guys next week at the.
But it can be a filled position even though it's not voted on because we don't have had a meeting in between. Is that
Correct.
I disagree with that.
okay? Any other questions for the treasurer? Hearing none. Human Resources.
Good morning. I'm making a request to change one non-union part-time payroll clerk position, 1115-2289, to one non-union full-time payroll coordinator position with a salary of $45,000 per year. The position was just recently filled as of yesterday by Connie Pelosa, who was a longtime payroll employee at Friendship Ridge. So we now have a two-person payroll department.
Thank you. Any questions for Human Resources? Commissioner? No?
Thank you.
So you're approving hers but not approving the treasurer's, and it's the same thing, correct, Garen?
This is
Ultimately? Okay.
This one is effective on 3/11.
She started, but we're not voting on it until when?
The salary board has not happened since this has been brought up. The salary board had happened.
I just want to make sure we're all on the same board, because I don't want to do something that's illegal. So, or not covered by the Sunshine Act. So, Garen, I just want to make sure that we are doing everything. Because this letter was approved by you, Commissioner Amadeo, Controller Rossi on February 22nd to bring a new hire on. So is this the same situation that we're dealing with the Treasurer's Office?
Correct.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Any other questions for Human Resources? All right. Number 4, Recreation and Tourism. Sid, will you be doing his?
Yeah, Tim is at a conference. He's requesting to create 2 part-time substitute front desk clerk positions, number 7020-1212 and 1213, with no additional cost to the county due to being used only when regular part-time clerks are unavailable to cover an open shift. He had sent a letter over on 2/11, and the letter here, so we don't know where it's meant to.
I'm sorry?
He sent a letter over to the commissioners, and we had asked Cindy,
Okay.
we're not sure where the letter is.
Any questions Sid may be able to answer for Tim? Tim's at a conference, he said, correct?
Yes.
Hearing none?
No, I've asked him.
Okay. Behavior Health, Drew Mike?
Yeah. Good morning. I am requesting to create 2 non-union full-time positions at administrative positions. The first is a drug and alcohol supervisor position, the number 5270-1210. Salary range $46,129 to $70,101. That's the bottom end of the range, top end of the range. The other position is an intellectual disability specialist 1. Position number is 5270-1211. Same salary range, at the bottom end and top end of that range on the scale. The drug, and because we don't know, it'll be posted in-house, we don't know where anybody's coming from, so I can't list the specific position. We may have someone in-house at a specific salary, and they may get a bump, you know what I mean, as they move into that. So, and if we pull someone from civil service, more than likely they would start at the very bottom of the scale. There's a chance they come in from another county with, some experience that would boost it up a little bit, but in most cases they start at the bottom. The full-time drug and alcohol position, this is just due to the increased number of evaluations that we're doing in the county due to the opioid crisis. And we have our case managers actually performing administrative functions, which takes them away from doing their frontline assessments and evaluations of consumers. So we did have DDAP in, and their recommendation was that we do have we do increase supervisory in a supervisory administrative position. There's no additional cost to the county. This will not increase county match. We're able to work it in our existing budget. The intellectual disability specialist, this is specific to our administrative entity contract that we have with the state. And the key, and it, again, when the state was in to monitor us, they felt that we were grossly understaffed in terms of admin. That was by design. I mean, we thought that we might be able to fulfill all the responsibilities with the staff that we do have. I wanted to make sure that we had enough service dollars before we went and added any positions. So we've waited about a year. We do have the position. We do have the funding there. We're able to work it within existing funding. No additional county match is going to be required, for this position also. And it's the same. The key here is, and what the state really pointed out was the ratios of staff to individuals. We only have 2 administrative entity staff right now. And so when we did a ratio, it came, it's 2 to 821. That's about the number of individuals we serve at any given time. So that ratio is roughly 1 to 410. And if we looked at Allegheny was 1 to 77. This is what the state pointed out to us. You know, we serve the highest number of consumers, and we have the fewest admin staff to perform functions. It is a contract, you know, responsibility, like I said earlier. So we do fall behind in some of those. So we need to get this person up and on board for monitoring, utilization review, which is, you know, needed versus non-needed services, level of care assessments, assistance to providers, you know, in the network. So.
When do they come in and evaluate? The state? Do they come every year?
They come constantly. It's
Okay.
not just on an annual
So this is
basis.
just, I mean, is this recently that they did this,
Yeah.
they suggested something along this line? Okay.
They've been suggesting it for quite some time.
Yeah.
I've just been resisting, just to make sure we had enough service dollars in place. Because it's the same, it's not like there's admin dollars and service dollars.
It's all.
We have to make it all work within the same budgets.
Any questions for Gerard?
Yes, they're non-union employees?
Yes,
And then why do they follow the STEP program?
it's just on our scale. And even non-union employees
Civil
are on the
service.
scale
Civil
and follow steps.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's not a cost to the county, but does that include benefits? The benefits
Yes.
are covered by
Yeah.
your funding?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, you're 80% matched, right?
Yes.
So 20%, anything's 20% for the county.
Well, no, that's children and youth is 20%. Our match in most cases is only like 3%.
3%.
Yeah, and with the block grant, it maybe goes up to a standard like 4.32%, you know, is what the requirement is. And that's just for some programs. When we look at it across the entire program, a lot of programs don't require a match, and our total budget in the county is just over $80 million across all categories. And when we look at the match, actually the match across all the categories actually falls out to less than 1%. And the match has not changed. As long as I've been administrator for, you know, since '02. How many years is that? Long. But we've never, the county match has never increased. We work within the county match, state budget, and federal.
Any other questions? All right, I am going to request an executive session for personnel reasons in our waste management department here. Will we need to reconvene? Okay, all right.
I had a question.
Sorry.
On the last salary board work session, I had proposed a question to the board to think about looking at salary caps, salary ranges, and no overtime without approval of the Board of Commissioners. So it's been 2 months, and I kind of would like to see what you guys think about that. And second, my questions weren't reflected in the meeting minutes.
Okay. For the salary cap, I mean, I would agree that we probably put a salary cap on every time that we hire. Are you saying put a salary cap on when we hire someone to say they'll never exceed a certain amount?
Yeah, and directors mostly, I
Okay.
would think it would be.
Well, normally when you create a position, you create it, then every year when we give 3%, that's also voted on, so you can break it out there. I mean, if you're gonna say you're gonna bring it in 80,000, that's all they're gonna make 80,000 until the end of time.
They might never come.
I don't know.
I'm liking it to what happens over at this Corporation for Economic Development. He's capped. There's a cap. I mean, that's.
I mean, that could be in the when you create the position, you can put that cap in that position. You know, if that's how that you could create that, then that could be voted on. But you know, now I don't know how that would work. You mean like so if it comes in 80,000, you cap it at 100,000, 100,000, that's it.
Mhm.
Wouldn't you have to do that with each individual hire ahead of time? You just can't carte blanche put caps on everyone.
Just on union, you can't quit the
Right.
union.
Yeah, union, you're governed by the collective bargaining agreement, so we wouldn't be able to do that. So you'd be specifically looking at the non-union positions, and I think you would have to do that on an individual basis because
Yeah,
each
we'll
of
run-
those positions are at different levels.
Well, we're going to eventually run into some issues if somebody's capped at a certain amount and the unions continue to increase over 10, 15 years. they may be making more than a director, which some already are, correct?
Or some are very close to already doing that right now.
But what I'm talking about is more so like we hired for the new director for CYS. So she has a him has a salary range of 80 to 120, and that's where we are with that, so that we know how to budget that. We hired her at a certain amount, and there is no cap.
But it still has to go in front of the board for any kind of raise, correct?
And she was hired at substantially less than a prior chairman, so.
Right.
That in itself is taking care of that.
Okay.
How would you determine the cap? I mean, like, what procedure, like, how would we follow, you know, what would be the justification in a sense? Yeah, I'm trying to say, well, somebody's here 30 years or 20 years.
Okay, I believe that you probably am not interested in doing that. How about the no overtime without the commissioner's approval?
Each department gets budgeted a certain amount of overtime, and once they exceed that amount, they have to get approval from the commissioners. So, I mean, we would have to take all their overtime budget out, and I don't know if, you know, for row offices, I don't know if we actually have that, you know, for instance, the sheriffs and the district attorneys, because that's probably where a lot of overtime come in. I don't know if we actually have that authority to tell them that they can't do overtime.
I mean, I think that's in the budget process.
Yeah.
There's a budget for overtime. If the commissioners pass a budget with overtime in it, then those offices could use that overtime. If there's no overtime in the budget, they would have to get your approval anyway, so.
Certain departments at certain times of the year need overtime.
Right, that's what should be budgeted for. Then if it goes over that, they would have to get your approval to get
Right.
that. So I think that's where that would be, if you want to control that, yeah, that's what you control in the budget process. You give the money to each office based on what they're saying their
What they
overtime
think.
is.
Well, what I'm seeing is that they make it as a line item transfer. The overtime is exceeding their overtime budget. But
Well, they have to give your approval, and you just have to sign off on that. If you give me $10,000 in overtime and I use $11,000, I'd have to make a $1,000 transfer. I would have to get approval by the commissioners, and you'd sign off on that. So if we're making that transfer now, you are approving it. You could decline it if you want, and they won't have the overtime.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion before executive session? We'll move into executive session, not reconvene. Thank you.